We are born free.
And we will die free.
The time in between, though,
that's complicated.
In that time, governments, institutions, and our egos will limit our ability to find true freedom in this life. These are real stories of real people overcoming the odds, persevering in justice, and unlocking their potential. Welcome to Finding Freedom. Here's your host, John Odermatt.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Finding Freedom right here on the Lions of Liberty Podcast Network. Excited for today's episode, excited to have another solo episode here today. No guest, just me ranting. Lucky you. Just one of those weeks where I actually had some guests lined up, but had to cancel because I got too darn busy with my day job and with preparing taxes and all this other crap that happens to everybody. I don't know. Happens to a lot of people. Happens to me. I know everybody's busy this time of year. And, you know, it's not the good kind of busy either. And I actually hate the word busy. And every time I hear myself say I'm busy, it kind of makes me angry that I said it, because being busy in itself is not like a good thing, right? It just means that we're not organizing our time in a manner as most effective as possible. So if we're just busy doing crap, that means our life is out of control. And honestly, that's what my life has felt like for the past week, 2 weeks, as I try to get everything done, get caught up, get my taxes done for my different businesses. Taxes are a nightmare for me. My land investing business has just been, we had an awesome year last year. And I wanted to teach myself, I made it a goal to teach myself how to do all of the bookkeeping for our land investing business this year. And it's freaking tough, man. Let me tell you, I'm happy I'm doing it because I'm learning a lot. And I think I'm learning a lot more about how to better take advantage from a tax standpoint, saving money, etc. But it has been a lot of work. It's been, I don't know, I probably put like 15 hours into it, which is just insanity. 15 hours that I don't have. So that's that. That's my rant on taxes. But I don't know, just the craziness of the world is just really driving me bonkers right now as well. And I'm going to get into talking about that stuff, talking about ESG, Anheuser-Busch, Nike, Dylan Mulvaney, all of that crap. We're going to talk about Kamala Harris and her giving a air quotes rousing speech about the Tennessee Democrats who were kicked out of the Tennessee House of Representatives down there. Well, we'll talk about all that stuff, but I do want to share. I was a guest on an awesome podcast that I did the interview last week. The Libertarian Christian podcast. It'll be out in, I think, 2 to 3 weeks is what Doug told me. So when that does come out, I'll let everybody know. It was a really enjoyable conversation, and I talked about things on there that I've not talked about anywhere else, I don't think. For whatever reason, it caught me in a very reflective mood, talking about my faith, talking about how I even got into, talking about the criminal justice system, and really what I did for years and years with Felony Friday. So interesting stuff. I'll let you all know when it comes out, and maybe I'll publish it on my Finding Freedom solo feed as well, which of course you should be subscribed to. If you're not, you can find the Finding Freedom solo feed anywhere podcasts are found, just by searching Finding Freedom. It should pop up. If it doesn't, just put in my name, John Odermatt, and it surely will pop up if you do that. And while you're at it, while you're subscribing to podcasts, make sure you're subscribed to this podcast. If you're listening on the Lions of Liberty Network, make sure you are subscribed to that as well. So you get my show, you get Brian's show, Mean Age Daydream, and you get our Friday show, which most of the time is Meme Wars, and we're getting quite a following for Meme Wars. We've had some good numbers on YouTube. with people watching along. It's a show where, of course, you can listen to it in podcast form and still get a lot out of it. But if you watch on YouTube or Rumble or Odyssey or whatever, on the video side, you get to see the actual memes, you get to see the actual videos that we're talking about. And I think it's a really cool, it's a cool show we've put together. I'm just going to say it. It's awesome. You should check it out if you haven't. And you should make sure you are subscribed on YouTube and or Rumble and or Odyssey to get your Lions of Liberty video content. Okay, let's get into it. I know I'm talking about something that Brian and Robbie the Fire talked about last Wednesday on Mean Age Daydream, but I can't let this go by without talking about it. Much like Brian talked about, his reaction to this Dylan Mulvaney Bud Light commercial partnership on social media, whatever it is between Mulvaney and Anheuser-Busch, it drives me absolutely bonkers to see this. And Brian and Robbie mostly, talked about and took the tact of this being, from a marketing standpoint, not making any sense. And I 100% agree with that. I think, and I don't want to put words in Brian's mouth, what I remember from the conversation, Brian did talk a little bit about the ESG angle, but I think that's the entire angle, really. I think that's where I would differ from Brian and Robbie, in that I think the only thing they care about here is the ESG angle. And that's the same, similar to the deal that Mulvaney has with Nike. It doesn't matter if they're pissing to them. It doesn't matter if they're pissing off their consumers, because this is so deeply ingrained, coming in the back door through BlackRock, and these ESG scores. And I'm going to read an article here from the Daily Mail that breaks this all down, how this works. And what you're going to come to understand as I get through this article is that this is something that is coming for every single major brand, and even not major brands, that will have to get on this ESG bandwagon. And this is just really phase one of the ESG wokeism that's going to be shoved down our throat by major corporations. So let's start with the article. It's in the Daily Mail. It's called "Companies Like Nike and Anheuser-Busch Use Trans Star Dylan Mulvaney to Push Products Increasing Their Corporate Equality Index Scores with Influential LGBTQ Lobbying Group." I don't know why they left the plus off and the two S's. I guess the Daily Mail just hates, LGBTQ plus 2S people. I guess that's what it is. Leaving those all those letters and plus signs off. But so to get into the article here, and I am just going to kind of read it and then talk about stuff. I haven't done this in a while, but this article is really chock full of really worthwhile talking points. So here we go. Big brands pushing woke advertising on their customers are being graded by a major LGBTQ lobbying group that keeps close tabs on their level of equality, publishing their scores to keep them in competition with their rivals. Corporations like Nike and Anheuser-Busch feature LGBTQ public figures, most notably trans star Dylan. Is it Dylan? Have I been saying that wrong? I don't really care. No, I guess that's a typo. It says Dylan Mulvaney. Avoid losing crucial credit points that could ruin their bottom lines. So this isn't just about virtue signaling for these companies. This isn't about them trying to reach out to a new market segment. They're not trying to market to the crazy progressives on the left or to the trans community. No, they're not. They are trying to stay in line with the ESG scores that they need in order to maintain their seat at the table. So let's get into it. Lucrative deals and ideological advertising campaigns all play into a business corporate equality index, a ranking overseen by the Human Rights Campaign. So HRC for short, the most powerful LGBTQ plus political lobbying group in the world, compiles woke scorecards based on corporate box ticking. Businesses that meet the criteria and earn a maximum of 100 index points are awarded with a best place to work for LGBTQ for the best place to work LGBTQ equality title, which 15 of the top 20 Fortune ranked corporations achieved that title. This is according to the HRC being Human Rights Campaign. Among the top corporations to receive a CEI score, Corporate Equality Index score of 100 in 2022 were Walmart, Amazon, Apple, and Google. To earn favor from the HRC, which has deep ties to the George Soros Open Society Foundation, big brands are judged based on 4 criterion that can make or break their CEI scores. The 4 criterion are workforce protections, inclusive benefits, supporting and inclusive culture, and corporate social responsibility and responsible citizenship. What the hell does that even mean? Are all used to determine how a company compares on all of the all-important rankings. Determine how a company compares on the all-important rankings. Excuse me. The CEI falls under the umbrella of ESG, stands for Environmental, Social, and Corporate Governance, and its ethical investing movement, which funds ideological projects, including those that phase out fossil fuels, promote unionization, and maintain racial and gender equality, hiring quotas. If you remember recently, and this is me talking, not the article, if you remember recently, there was that bill, which it actually passed last year, which is going to require funds like 401k funds, mutual funds, to take into account ESG scores in addition to, the bottom line, for example, companies making money, actually being profitable, when they, grade these corporations out for inclusion in their funds. So this was passed before the Republicans took control of the House, the beginning of this past term, and it was passed. Then the Republicans repealed it. And then Joe Biden vetoed the repeal. And essentially what he said was, these Republicans are putting you at risk for losing money in your 401ks. It's irresponsible. They don't want these companies to be evaluating them on all these different things that are so important to investing to make sure that you're getting the best investments because you're a blue collar worker and you deserve the best. You deserve your pension. And these Republicans don't want you to get your pension because it was just complete insanity that made no sense at all to what the actual legislation did was made this ESG nonsense mandatory. So that's what's in place right now. That is, excuse me, that is why this is happening. That's one of the driving factors why this is happening. The other driving factor, BlackRock, we'll be talking about here shortly, and George Soros as well, who was mentioned earlier. Okay, so, and if a company drops CEI points, it can mean losing a seat at the table. The CEI falls under the umbrella ESG, where we talked about that, blah, blah, blah. Okay, for profit-driven entities, losing conservative customers by pushing woke advertising and making figures like Mulvaney the public face of the company is a small price to pay compared to the alternative. This is what I'm talking about. They don't give a shit if they're pissing off their consumer base. They don't care. That's the times we're living in. That's how upside down this world is that we're living in. Mulvaney has faced severe backlash, of course, after she was handed lucrative ad deals with brands including Nike, Bud Light, and she has reportedly made over 1 million through the deals while racking up over 10 million followers on TikTok. One of the key players in the dynamic is BlackRock CEO Larry Fink, one of the top shareholders in major companies, including Nike and Anheuser-Busch, who oversees assets worth $8.6 trillion. Can you wrap your mind around the amount of wealth $8.6 trillion is? Because I friggin' can't. That's insane that BlackRock controls that much wealth. Fink, and that's me talking, not the article, back to the article. Fink, who has been dubbed the face of ESG, showed his hand in 2018 in a notorious letter to top CEOs titled A Sense of Purpose, which threatened to demote those who didn't fall in line. Arguing that companies need to serve a social purpose, Fink said, to prosper over time, every company must not only deliver financial performance, but also show how it makes a positive contribution to society. If a company doesn't engage with the community and have a sense of purpose, it will ultimately lose the license to operate from key stakeholders. Who are the key stakeholders who are ultimately taking away this license to operate? It's him. It's Larry Fink. It's BlackRock. The big fund managers like BlackRock all embrace this ESG orthodoxy in how they apply pressure to top corporate management teams and boards, and they determine in many cases executive compensation and bonuses and who gets reelected or reappointed to boards. Now, this is coming from Vivek Ramaswamy, whatever. He's the guy who is the Indian 2024 presidential candidate, GOP presidential candidate. But he's exactly right. So they are pulling the strings. They can have, board members removed. They can have CEOs removed. They can have, remove executives. They are pulling the strings. So essentially, because you have BlackRock pulling the strings, you have George Soros pulling the strings, these CEOs and executives and CFOs and, board, corporate boards are not fulfilling their fiduciary responsibility to shareholders because they are looking over to the other stakeholders in the room that could take them out of a job, that could pull their golden parachute away from them. Who has more leverage there? BlackRock has more leverage. The shareholder, the stock owner, the consumer, the regular person who's drinking Bud Light, the regular person who's, trying to buy some running shoes, they don't care about you. They don't give a shit about you. You're not in control. This is not a free market economy. It's nothing close to a free market economy. This is pure fascism. Fascism with a seasoning of socialism. Okay, continuing on. One of the central ways businesses are able to appease the CEI rankings is through advertising. Here's what happened here with Budweiser, leading to controversial campaigns such as the recent Bud Light ads featuring Mulvaney. While Fink has combated claims that ESG is a politically driven project, I don't know how can you combat? Of course it's politically driven. I mean, are you kidding me? The president of the Human Rights Campaign, which doles out the CEI ranking, is a former political organizer for Barack Obama. Shocking. Kelly Robinson, who took the helm in 2022 of HRC, was previously the executive director of Planned Parenthood. What a small world. Look at these people. These are the types of people who are pushing this shit down your throat. People who don't care about life. People who don't care if babies are murdered. These are evil, evil people. Okay, continuing on. I'm getting worked up here. Okay. Planned Parenthood has vowed to lead a road intersectional coalition for change across numerous industries, according to the Washington Post. But her CEI ranking was described as mafia-like by New Discourse's chief James Lindsay, who slammed it as an extortion racket to push ideological agendas on the public that runs deeper than the mere virtue signaling. It doesn't just sit back passively either, he told the Post. HRC sends representatives to corporations every year. Listen to this. HRC sends representatives to corporations every year, telling them what kind of stuff they have to make visible at the company. They give them a list of demands, and if they don't follow through, there's a threat that you won't keep your CEI score. The ESG is a highly subjective political score infiltrating all walks of life, added Derek Kreifels, CEO of State Financial Officers Foundation and a leading voice against ESG. The problem with measures like CEI and its big brother ESG is that it introduces an incentive structure outside the bounds of business, often in ways contradictory to fiduciary duty. Like I said before, this is Kreifels talking. Whether Anheuser-Busch was trying to cash in on Dylan Mulvaney's TikTok following, they weren't, or chasing higher CEI ratings for inclusivity, they were. the backlash has been significant, and the stockholders to whom the company is obligated will feel the pinch. Of course they will, but they don't care about the stockholders. They don't care about the consumers. They don't care about you, and they're going to continue to shove this down your throat. And like I said earlier, this is phase one, okay? Phase one is the CEI, ESG, BlackRock, backdoor through corporations, having the leverage on the C-suite, on the boards, in order to shove this wokeism down your throat, to shove these climate change measures down your throat, to shove the diversity and inclusion down your throat. This is coming. This is coming to every major brand, to every major corporation, and probably even smaller brands, smaller corporations, and it's going to be sickening to watch. So just prepare yourself. And on another show, maybe I'll talk about what we can do to fight back, because I think there are some things, excuse me, that we can do to fight back. You get a drink of water. But before I do that on another show, I'm not going to get to it today. I don't have enough time as I'm recording this on the Saturday before Easter, and I need to wrap this thing up so I can get it edited, posted, and enjoy my Easter Sunday tomorrow with the family. Phase one is what's happening now. Phase two, what's that? What do you think it is? What do you think phase two is? So if they are going to control, what's coming out from these corporations, they're going to control the message coming out. They have the message, they have the communication channels. They're able to promote and pull these influencers and shine a light on the influencers who they want to. What comes next is they're going to start controlling what you buy, how you buy, and they're going to start limiting the things that you are able to purchase or buy, the products and services. And if they don't align with this ESG, wokeism, diversity, inclusion, climate change agenda, then you're not going to be able to buy it. And how are they going to do that? Well, they're going to do it with CBDC. And that is coming. I mean, the Fed just announced recently, I think by the end of the year, they're going to start using their internal Federal Reserve CBDC for internal transactions. That's just testing it out. This is coming faster than I ever thought it could. And it's scary times, people. I mean, this is real, and this is happening, and we can get angry about it. And I do wonder, because there's going to be cultural heroes, so-called heroes in quotes, who rise up against this and maybe end up running for president or something, and then people will direct all their energy towards supporting them, saying this person is going to save us. The problem with that is they're not, because they don't have the leverage to change it. They don't have the leverage to change the system. They can't control BlackRock. Donald Trump gets reelected. What's he going to do? He's not going to control BlackRock. He's not going to stop the messaging coming out of these corporations being shoved down our throat. He's not going to stop the Federal Reserve implementing a CBDC. So it's kind of like a false hope, which I think that's one way to kind of fight back against this, is we have to realize that we have to be very tactical in how we fight back and how we invest our resources, how we invest our time, and that we're not distracted by these, false heroes that rise up out of the culture. Because it's going to be I'm not even saying that necessarily they're false, because there are people who are, I think it's very important. I'm speaking out against it right now. I think people should speak out against this, right? But we have to be careful to think that just speaking out against it, it's not enough. We have to find a way to get leverage in order to get this back, in order to turn this ship around. I think it's possible. I certainly do think it's possible. But this isn't something you solve in a year. This is something you think long term on how the heck are we going to turn this ship around. So we can talk about that another time. Crazy times that we're living in. I was talking to my wife last night about this, and even like 3 or 4 years ago, if you told me this shit was happening, I would not believe you. I would not believe you. I would say that you were completely insane, that you're a crazy person. And if you told me this in 2019 and 2024, that a trans person would be on a Bud Light can promoting Bud Light, or dancing around in women's underwear promoting Nike, I would have laughed in your face. I would have laughed in your face. That's how ridiculous this is and how quickly this change has occurred. But it's here. It's here to stay. So yeah, I don't know. It is what it is at this point in time, and we'll adjust and fight back as we need to. Non-violently. Let's say that. Fight back non-violently. So speaking of violence, was Kamala Harris inciting violence in her speech down in Tennessee, responding to the two lawmakers who were removed from the Tennessee House down there, House of Representatives? So let's listen in on Kamala Harris's, I can never say her name, Kamala Harris's speech, which she gave down in Tennessee. As I pull this up. Here we go. Okay, here we go. Kamala Harris in Tennessee. This is about a minute long. So here we go.
We understand when we took an oath to represent the people.
Oops, just muted on me.
Sorry. When we took an oath to represent the people who elected us, that we speak on behalf of them. It wasn't about the three of these leaders. It was about who they were representing. It's about whose voices they were channeling. Understand that. And is that not what a democracy allows? A democracy says you don't silence the people. You do not stifle the people. You don't turn off their microphones when they are speaking about the importance of life and liberty.
Okay, let's talk about this here. Because I mean, this is politicking 101. She's saying you don't silence the people when they're talking about life and liberty. You don't turn off their mic. She didn't say this, but you don't censor people. Well, that's funny. What happened during COVID, Kamala? What happened then? You couldn't speak about any other narrative other than the one coming out from the freaking White House and Fauci. You couldn't speak out against it. You couldn't speak out against anything that was being pushed out from the CDC. You couldn't run counter to that. Even if you are a decorated scientist who's been, practicing medicine for years and years, you couldn't even speak out against it on social media, on Twitter, on podcast. No, you were censored. You were flagged. You were silenced. You were deplatformed. So don't come to me and talk to me, Kamala Harris, about who and when people should be silenced. And also, this is different. This is a legislative body that is elected by the people in Tennessee who are deciding to remove these two members. So that, my friends, is democracy in action. Because this is an elected body doing it, a democratically elected body. And, you could argue maybe they shouldn't have, maybe they should not have done it. You can bring that argument to the table. You can talk about it, but don't say it's not democratic for them to do it, because that's exactly what they were elected to do, was control their own legislative body. That's what they do as a House of Representatives. It's just absolutely crazy how hypocritical these people are. And it makes me angry, but at the same time, what makes me more angry is the people where they hear this and they cheer, and they are totally, it's totally lost on them. The hypocrisy in this. People don't even notice it. They are so zoomed in on their echo chamber, so zeroed in on gun control. So zeroed in on COVID, on vaccines, on whatever, on masking. So zeroed in that they just selectively pick and choose where they use censorship, where they say there shouldn't be censorship, where, they need to have liberty, where there shouldn't be liberty. And it's crazy. It's just it's the way politics works. And it's why libertarians will never be successful at the federal level in politics, because the game that they're playing is a different game than libertarians want to play. And libertarians can't make them play the game that they want to play it. They play the game the way that they want to play it. No, they can't. So what happens is they just say, libertarians, guess what? You're not playing this game. You should no interest in playing this game. So why are we even letting you on the field? Which is why they don't let libertarians on the field. If you want to change that, change the way you play the game. Start playing the game the way that they're playing it, and start actually trying to win politically. If you don't want to do that, then I don't know. Don't run for federal office, and don't expect me or any other libertarian with a head on their shoulders to give you money to run for office if you're not willing to try to win on the playing field. And I just don't see a path forward for a libertarian to win in this environment when you so clearly have politicians on the left and the right that selectively choose when and where they want to apply the ideas of liberty and freedom, and when and where they want to apply censorship, deplatforming. And you have to push back. And that's exactly what these Republicans did in Tennessee. And they did it within the rules as they pushed back. They had some Democrats that stepped over the line and did this, crazy gun control protest, and they got rid of them. And of course, you have the Democrats, AOC, Kamala Harris, all fired up and fed up and saying that this is the worst thing that happened in the history of the world, with completely tone deaf to every other time they've done the same exact thing against Republicans. So that's the game back and forth. I mean, Republicans honestly don't play it as well as Democrats, which is why Democrats control literally every institution and will probably control the entire government again in 2024. And that's just the reality of the situation. I mean, I'm just calling the shots as I see them. I'm just calling it as I see it. So that's what we got going on there. And just a side note on Kamala Harris, I've never seen somebody get so much on the job experience for public speaking and yet never get any better. I mean, this was, I would say, one of her better speeches. But if you watch the video on it, her hand signals are ridiculous. When she says the word, when she talks about speaking, she takes her hands up and makes the speaking noise, she's pulling the word, like pushing the words out of her mouth, to say speaking. And who would ever, no one's instructed her to do that. I guess this is just horrible public speaking and gesturing. It's just a natural gift that she has. And somehow, for whatever reason, they can't get her to stop doing it. And it's funny. And it's going to be even funnier when, Donald Trump ends up winning the GOP nomination. Joe Biden, meanders in to the winning the Democratic nomination. Biden beats Trump because Trump's not going to beat Biden. And then Biden ends up either dying or, becoming completely dementia-ridden and incapacitated. And Kamala Harris is your president. I would say that's the most likely scenario of what happens. Greater than 50% that happens in 2024 and beyond. That Biden wins again, and we end up with Kamala Harris, the worst public speaking, hand gesturing president in the history of the world, and really just a awful, awful person. Hopefully it doesn't happen, but I think it's greater than 50%, greater than a coin flip. So that's kind of sad. Anyway, what's the good news? The good news is we're still alive, people. We're still here. It's Easter Monday. You're listening to this on Monday. I'm a Christian. I have faith that good wins out in the end. In the end, Christ wins. In the end, we will be in heaven with our Father. And that's just the facts. That is what I believe in my heart. That is what I have, really felt in my soul as I've grown in my Christian faith. And, I'm sure other Christians can relate to that. People who are atheists, people who don't believe in God, probably listen to this part of it saying, wow, John has lost his mind. I was tracking with him up until now, but he's a crazy person. And you know what? That's fine if you think that. It doesn't bother me. It doesn't bother me at all. So I would just pray that hopefully the Lord works in your life to change your heart. And that's the only way really that these things change is, God has to work in your heart or work through someone else to bring Christ into your life. So that's my prayer this Easter Monday for each and every one of you out there listening or watching. I hope everyone has a great week coming up this week. And I'll be back next week with another interview. Have a couple good ones lined up. Going to be talking to friend of the show, Mikkel Thorup. I think that'll air next week. And we're going to be talking about his new book, about becoming an expat in Mexico. This is a guy who has incredible experience about becoming an expat really anywhere in the world, the best places to do it. So if that is something you're at all interested in, which I think everybody should be to a certain extent, to at least learn a little bit about it, to have that in your back pocket in case you need it, to get prepared, to prepare yourself in case, shit really hits the fan in this country. You're going to want to tune in to that episode because it's going to be a outstanding and informative episode. And then the following week, I don't know. I got a couple interviews lined up, but they're going to be good. I am going to be talking to Doug Casey from the Libertarian Christian podcast at some point in the next few weeks. Looking forward to that interview. Like I said at the top of the show, I was on his podcast. It was recorded last week. It'll air in like 2 to 3 weeks. So I'm looking forward to you guys all hearing that. And that's all I got for this week. I went for, what did I say? A half hour, 36 minutes. I over-delivered. I'm happy with that. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast and join the Lions of Liberty Pride. Would love to have you in the Pride. We are really focusing on giving our Pride members the best content, delivering extra content. Every interview I do is going to be accompanied by a bonus segment that you can get. You can get our Lions of Liberty bonus feed just for $5 a month, joining the Pride at our lowest level through Patreon or through Locals, lionsofliberty.locals.com, patreon.com/Lions of Liberty to join there. Of course, you get Brian's daily weekday rants, and you get Degenerate Gamblers when it's in season. You get Secrets, Lies, and Cover-Ups, which is our conspiracy show. So much good stuff. Discount in the store, discount on Run Your Mouth Coffee, rymcoffee.com, the official coffee of free speech. Check it out. All this great stuff. So join the Pride. Do it today or do it tomorrow. And we hope to see you there. See you in our Facebook group. And have a great week this week. And always remember to keep your head up and the fires of liberty burning.